Hey everybody, thanks for checking out another one of my Headrush how-tos. In this one I'm going to be covering the hardware assign screen and more importantly the scenes function, which is one of the most important things to me as far as getting your Headrush ready for live shows goes. Think of the hardware assign screen as kind of the logic center of the Headrush pedal board, where you get to tell all of the foot switches how to behave, how to appear, that kind of cool stuff. So just follow along with me and we'll get you all set up. All right, so for the sake of time, we already have a basic rig prepared here. We've got an amp model, an impulse response, some basic reverb, my power tube emulation graphic EQ. Check out the video on that if you're not sure what that is. But basically, as you're assigning blocks to the Headrush pedal board, your foot switches start filling up with those effects up until you run out, basically. And you know, you don't necessarily want like a switch to turn on your amp or your reverb, or to turn those things off rather. You want those things to always stay on, so there's no need to waste a whole foot switch on them. So what can we do with those foot switches? Scenes, basically. It's one of the greatest features. It turns off multiple blocks all at once, or turns multiple blocks off all at once. It can change the preset of a certain kind of block. If you have, say, like a BBD delay going, you can change that from a short one to a long one if you choose a preset that does that for you. But anyway, so you've got your very basic rig built here, and you see we've got some things here, like this reverb, the amp, graphic EQ, and this parametric EQ, that I don't really need to waste a foot switch on, so we're going to make scenes out of this, right? And we're running the 100-watt plexi. I made a little kind of a almost brown sound setting. It's 20% shy on each dial. But anyway, it sounds like this all on its own. All right, now that's a great tone, and plexis are pretty good at cleaning up with guitar volume. But what if I want a different amp for cleans within the same rig, something that's squeaky clean, say like a Fender Twin Reverb, right? How do I accomplish that without putting that amp in there and having to hit two switches to go back and forth between them? Without putting that amp in there as a block itself. So it is with scenes, so I'll show you. So you go here to hardware assign, and it doesn't matter what you've got down here. The Headrush, with its architecture, it just needs some information down here in order to double tap this to turn one of those blocks into a scene. It doesn't mean that the reverb is going to be affected by anything that I do here, unless I choose for it to. But so now you can see that this block's been turned into a scene, and we're going to hit edit. And one of the coolest things you can do is change presets of things. So you can't change an amp block suddenly into like a phaser block or anything like that. It's got to be an amp block to a different kind of amp block. But basically, for this scene, we're going to make a clean scene. I want to be able to go to a clean sound that has no effects or anything on it, just plain clean sound. So my phaser, I'm going to make sure that one turns off. That turns off. My tube screamer, I want my octaves to turn off. The parametric EQ always stays on, so no change there. The chorus, I want that to go off. I want the delay to come off. And I want the graphic EQ, which is basically my lead boost tone shaper. I want that to be off. My reverb always stays on, and my impulse response always stays on. So those are going to stay as no change. The air filter, which serves as my auto wah, is assigned to the expression pedal. So I'm going to leave that as no change too, because it's not turned on by any foot switches. It's only turned on by moving the expression pedal. But anyway, so if you see where it says no preset down here, you can click on that, and now you can pick from all these amp presets, all of the default ones or any of them that you've made. Like you can see I've made all these down here. I've cleaned up my board a lot lately, but I'm going to pick this twin reverb preset that I made. All right, so that's what's going to happen if I hit this switch now. My plexi is going to turn into the Fender twin reverb model that I picked. And if you if you single click in this white box, you can change the name, which is always helpful. So that I'll change the scribble strip up for you. And now I have a foot switch here that says clean. And what does it do? It goes from my plexi to this Fender twin. Now, one of the downsides to this, a lot of people complain about this, is that you can't just hit this same scene again to revert back to some kind of default. You have to make an accompanying scene to go back to your plexi. So let's go ahead and do that. Back into hardware assign. This time we're going to change that to a scene. And we're going to do all the same stuff. So I just want to go to a plain, like, dirty rhythm sound with nothing else on it. So I'm going to turn off I'm going to make sure all the effects are assigned as turn off when I hit this scene, except for the ones I always have on, so the impulse response, reverb, that kind of stuff. But I need to make sure that this preset is now my my brown Plexi 100 that I've made. So, and we're going to call that one crunch or rhythm. So if I hit this now, it's going to go back to that plexi, and here I am. All right, cool. So I can go to my clean amp. You'll want to volume balance that in a real application. This twin reverb is a little quiet right now compared to the plexi, but anyway, that's not the point of this video. Or I can go from that to my crunch. All right, cool. So now, one of the other things you'll need is some kind of lead tone. I mean, I usually do. I want something different happening when there's leads, so I want to turn on like a boost, say like the TS808 that I've got in here, the JRC Green OD. I like to do a little bit of tone shaping behind the amp block, so I'm going to use the graphic EQ for that. In this case, I'm not actually tone shaping, but I am just using it for a 3 decibel gain in volume. Sometimes I like to play with boosting the highs and cutting lows, or boosting the mids and cutting lows and highs with this. But for this one, I've just got a 3 decibel volume boost. We're just going to let the tube screamer in the front do the tone shaping for this one. And I want to, have some kind of delay on there. So I've got a 400 millisecond analog delay going on. And I would like for all of those things to turn on all at once. Really easy. So, hardware assign again. We're going to change the graphic EQ button to a scene this time. And let's edit that. So the air filter unaffected again. I don't want a phaser on. I do want this tube screamer on. I don't want octaves on. My lead is always going to be on my crunchy amp, so I'm going to make sure that I have selected my brown Plexi 100 to be the amp model being used during my leads. No change to parametric EQ. I don't want chorus on. I do want delay on, and I do want this graphic EQ on. No change to reverb and impulse response. And let's call this one lead. Also, too, if you have a rig where you don't go to a clean amp model and a dirty amp model using this method, you don't have to select like the brown Plexi model for each dirty thing that you want to do, like a dirty lead. I'm only doing that because I have made one that takes it to a clean amp, and I don't want to hit my lead boost and have it stay on my twin with all the other stuff turning on. I want that to go to my plexi. But if you're not doing that with a clean amp, then you don't have to do this in every single scene. So anyway, we now have a lead scene, and let's see what it does. So you'll see it turns on the overdrive, the delay, and the graphic EQ all at once. If I go back to my crunch, my just dirty rhythm scene, it's already been programmed to turn all of those things off. So we took care of that earlier. So I've got my lead tone going. Right, and then back to a rhythm part. Right out of that. So scenes are really awesome for that kind of thing. People have been doing this kind of thing for longer than like today's modelers have been out using big MIDI boards and analog pedals. But you know, what a cool world we live in that we have all this stuff contained in one simple board now, right? Without 80 cables going here and there and needing a sound guy backstage to turn that kind of stuff on and off for you. I guess you never needed them, but pros have people that turn pedals on and off for them. And with a modeler, you can actually save that kind of payroll nowadays. So I'm not trying to put anybody out of a job, but so anyway, so we've got a clean crunch and lead scene. And I'm gonna fix this amp model real quick. I'm just gonna bring the volume up to 55. So you can get as creative as you want with this kind of thing. So say you wanted a scene, a lead scene that also turns on your chorus at the same time. You can do that kind of stuff. Or you want a lead scene that turns on your 3 lead things plus an octave. You can do that kind of stuff. So really anything that you can kind of dream of is what you can do here. Say I wanted to program like a cool like clean scene that automatically has a chorus on. You can do stuff like that, right? So hardware assign, we'll change this into a scene now. We'll make the preset the twin reverb and the chorus on, and that's basically all we would want to do to that. We'll call that like, we'll call it 80s clean. So we're on our crunchy amp, and now it's time for a nice lush lead part, and that's what this is for. So how smooth is that, right? Just what an awesome feature. And I'm going to show you just a few other things you can do in hardware assign real quick. That pretty much covers scenes for me. But so some other cool stuff you can do is up here you can assign a color to the rig itself. Which is useful. I'll make a video about just organizing all of your rigs. Maybe you've got a ton of them. Maybe you're really cleaned up like I am. But color coding and then sorting by color is an option that we have on the Headrush. So this is where you take care of that. You can assign parameters to the expression pedal that aren't expression pedal block related. So in my example, I've got the air filter here, which I use as kind of an auto wah because I'm lazy. So the way I accomplish that is See these four pluses right here, you can assign anything you want to them. And in my case, I took the air filter's mix control. Oh, and I set its range from 0 to 100, which is why you can see the air filter is always on, but you can't hear it doing anything right now. But if I move that expression pedal, now my auto wah is on. Okay, and I do that, I've mentioned this in some videos, but I do that to save myself a foot switch, basically. I think for the most part that about covers it, guys. I hope the most important takeaway is going to be making big time use of scenes, which just takes all the tap dancing, or takes all the tap dancing out of the live performance and just keeps you playing without looking down at your feet. So I hope you got a bunch out of this, guys. Thank you.